reunion times, right before the system collapsed. My father unfortunately left our family when I was 5 years old. It was at that time when I met my juggling teacher, Alex Gruzin. Alex would treat me like his own kid, and he became like a father to me. He made me dream. He made me believe that there's a bright future. He made me confident that I can be different. The sad truth is that he passed away before I got to the big stage. It felt like I lost my father second time. But everything I have now, he left it for me.
I grew up wishing to be at Cirque du Soleil all the time. It was an example to be a performer right there. And there came the time in 1999, over 18 years ago, where they called me and say, okay, can you come and join our show called Dralion? And I came as a guest performer with my own act that I created previously and start that journey. I was impressed at the same time. It widened my experience of being performing in such a big audiences and all over the world. It's a compromise because you want it to be expressive, maximum way possible, and being in a big stage. Or you want it to be productive and vibrant and moving around and trying different routines. That being said, I perform years and years all over the world with Cirque du Soleil and rejoined them for another show called Amaluna, where I created with the company another character which based on Shakespearean story. The daily routine at Cirque du Soleil is something that most of artists cannot cope with, because you have to be precise, you have to do exactly the same, and you have to be focused all the time, because for us it's the same show we do all the time, but for every audience that come, it's always a new experience. So we are providing the same performance, but we are giving this experience for the audience like they had seen this for the first time. So for me it was the reason I believed and can move on with the same routine for years and years, thousands of performances with exactly the same moves and the same expressions, but I feel like I do it for the first time. Cirque du Soleil conditions on tour are impressive. It's like a little family that travels together and reach millions of people, which is fascinating. At the same time, when I left Cirque du Soleil and I decided to move on my own road, my own schedule finally, and decide to experience and develop, I moved forward and signed the contract with America's Got Talent, which was a huge step for me because at Cirque du Soleil I've been a performer on a platform, and then suddenly I'm a competitor somewhere. But it gives me a challenge, and I love that challenge.
Do you think they take the inspiration? When is the turning point? When you're 3 years old, 5 years old?
Well, it's a good question. The turning point when you discover that you have talent. Every time you get growth and becoming better, you get so much into it and fall in love in that feeling and adrenaline of always improving. And then you see a potential in yourself. Then you say, okay, I wanted to proceed in that industry to become a professional.
What's the role of the major, of the teacher?
I think it has to be a wide balance between how much the teacher pushes the kid and how much he sees the potential and get it developed by itself. The teacher is direction and focus for an inspiring where you go, and for the kid that's what is important from the teaching point.
talk about talent. And what's the weight between talent and hard work to become a successful circus star as you are?
I believe that there's a 40% of talent that you have to possess and believe in. Then you have about 10% of confidence. Then you have another 40% of very hard work and 10% of luck. Everybody will find their talent because every kid has one. It's just a matter of finding.
How many of the people that we're seeing here do you think will really make it till the end?
A lot of talented kids, and I think over 150 students every year. In my opinion, maybe 20% will be a professional and learn, and they can develop their career. Kids here, when they study, it's a start of their life. It's not necessarily they have to be who they want to be right now. It's evolving. The skill that they develop, dedication, confidence, inspiration in the world, wide thinking, self-development, individual searching inside, artistic way of mentality. Those qualities you don't get from being in the school for learning a doctor degree. These are enormous amounts of power they give them, a platform to live their life in a much wider and better.
Maybe even one of them will be a great marketing manager in the future.
And better than maybe the other one that learned just numbers. Because some creative way of expressing yourself or adapting to the situation is very powerful.
How many hours a day do they train?
Crazy. So about 12 hours a day, and they do it for 6 days a week. And they decide to become a performer. It's a huge step because no one of them know are they gonna be successful, is it gonna be any great career, or it's gonna fail or not. Nobody knows. It's a risk.
It's kind of different from a normal course of studies where you know that you're gonna study to become a lawyer and pretty much you will become.
It's a big difference. Imagine you are having 40,000 euro and you spend it on education. You go to that college, you go to that university, you have this diploma, that diploma, this. You study hard, you get it. And then you know what job you're gonna get. Here, you study hard, you invest a lot of time, money, and you don't know, are you gonna be talented, successful, performing at all? Nothing. It's like a blind faith of the student to move in front of him. They are driven by confidence and belief. They're not driven by common sense mind of this system, educational system, that give them result on the plate. You are just self-confident teenager that just believe he will be talented or develop his talent. Circus is wider than we ever think. It's a combination of so many things. It can be combined so many ways and produce so different colors. Juggling is incredible art in my sense because it's not anybody a clown juggling. There is no red noses. It's not juggling on the streets for money. It's a juggling that 4,000 years old, come from all the way from east somewhere. Nobody knows exactly where it come from, and it evolved through the years to a form of art. And it adopted in the circus because it's a showcasing of human skill. It's not just human skill, it's almost like a philosophy. It's almost like a combination of geometry, physics, and spiritual. It has no limits in its expressive ways, no limit in the amount of tricks you can combine, create, and do, and the way they do it. No other discipline has so unlimited possibilities as I see. Smile, provoke what? It's not spangles, it's not all these beautiful things around. It's the ability of somebody to captivate with actual talent, with the skill. The talent is touching you through your eyes into your mind, towards your soul. It's touching your soul. But all around, how beautifully you can furnish it. It's only polished, beautiful surface, only for your eyes and your psycho. It's impressive, it catches your imagination, but it doesn't touch you.
Where did you take the inspiration for your performances?
I was 5, 6. We didn't have any videos. We didn't have any YouTubes at that time, obviously. And we read books. My teacher was so beautiful for kids, for us, inspiring. He brought different books, different stories about other artists. And there was one book, encyclopedia of circus arts in Soviet Union. And every act is described in words what they do on stage. Like, here comes the juggler, the light on spot on him immediately, the energy is enormous, audience quiet, he tosses 3 balls in the air, he does double pirouette, he stops. My imagination was just exploding how it's actually there. So I was not actually showing what happens, I was given to imagine. I love that. I think we're missing that right now. Right now it's different. You YouTube something, you Google it, you see it exactly what it is. For me, interesting how they get inspired. I think they get inspired by career, by achievements, by major things. Not so subtle like we used to do it before. It might change the way they shift in their career or make decisions differently. Because it's a bigger difference how we study and how the kids study right now.
How do you see circus evolving with the technology, the digital approach?
Adult audience can be overwhelmed by visual effects and disregard the real performance. But if you take a real child, he will be so bored of all this and he will miss that little 3-ball toss juggling.
Okay.
You know, he will be more impressed with the plain stage, with one spotlight, one guy come and do this with the juggling. They were so impressed rather than I do just nothing and then a lot of fame rush around me. You know, so I think the most true audience is the kid, and we have to not forget that. As an adult, we lose that child inside of us, and therefore we forget what we're actually looking for and what is actual entertainment and what is false. So we have to always combine properly the things and make one thing priority as a skill. It's a showcasing the skill. There's a priority. The rest is just furnishing. Computers so far and artificial intelligence, they can, with all the gathering information that they have, they can replicate. But replicating means not creating. It's replicating. It's two different things. And even if it's unrecognizable, because they're so good in replicating, doesn't mean that they're artists. Artists have a blank page, imagination, talent, and put it on the paper. And audience see, wow, we never seen it before. Anywhere. He didn't copy anything from it. He just created because it's a creation of artists. So creation and replication is a different things. So we should not forget the difference.
How do you see creativity spreading?
Creativity is equal out of the box. So if you close yourself in the box, you're not going to be creative. You will be productive. You will be maybe focused on a financial structure or something like that. But when you want to be creative, you are sharing, you're exploring, and you first of all brainstorming. Do not be afraid of come up with a crazy idea that even you think that somebody will laugh at. And this is where the idea is born. From crazy ideas, some little things, then another crazy idea. Somebody will pick up that. Brainstorming is number one key to be creative.
So usually in companies we tend to hide when there is a mistake, or we are afraid to try because we fear we are going to make a mistake.
Oh yes.
So how does this
it's interesting. Yeah, in my world, in the performing arts, failure is the way to progress, because you learn to fail. That means you are failing a few times, then you fail less and less, and then you do not fail. Then you improve for better level, and you fail again because it's bigger than you are now. Then you get better and you don't fail in that level. Art is pushing your boundaries, pushing your limit, especially in circus. Circus is this motivation of physical ability of human body.